So what I want to share today is a poem by Christopher Fry called Sleep of Prisoners. The human heart can go the lengths of God. Dark and cold we may be, but this is no winter now. The frozen misery of centuries breaks, cracks, and begins to move. Thunder is the thunder of the flows, the thaw, the flood, the upstart spring. Thank God our time is now, when wrong comes up to face us everywhere, never to leave us until we take the longest stride of soul men ever took. Affairs are now soul size. The enterprise is exploration into God. Where are you making for? It takes so many thousand years to wake, but will you wake for pity's sake? I think that so encapsulates our time, where we are now, what's happening with us. The human heart can go the lengths of God. Ah, that just so touches me. We are the divine, so of course we can go the lengths of God. But do we? So often we pull ourselves back from stretching to that full length. Dark and cold we may be, but this is no winter now. I forget how long ago he wrote that, but we are certainly not in winter, are we? Even though where I am, it's supposed to be winter. So we're in the 50s, no snow. There is no winter now. We're losing winter. Winter is disappearing. The frozen misery of centuries breaks, cracks, begins to move. The thunder is the thunder of the flows, the thaw, the flood, the upstart spring. Nothing's working. We know nothing's working. It is all falling apart. The frozen misery of centuries has come home to roost. We are seeing the consequences of our actions in ways we've never thought we would. Never, it wasn't foretold, it wasn't clear. We didn't get it. And now you don't have to get it, it's just in your face. So we're seeing things crack and break and begin to shift. And the shift is the upstart spring. I mean, actually, that's fabulous. It's even exciting when you think about it. With every change, there's loss and pain and unfamiliarity and ambiguity and all those other things that we as humans really wish we didn't have to experience. But it is about the upstart spring. It's about cracking open so those new plants can bloom and blossom and grow. And that's what we're really doing. We are creating a whole new world. It is going to be different on so many levels. Without winter, what a different place this will be. So how will we be in this new place? Thank God our time is now, when wrong comes up to face us everywhere, never to leave us until we take the longest stride of soul men ever took. So now we have to mend our ways, be different, do all the things we've resisted. I was reading another book, and the key, the woke up, the waking up, is to take our responsibility, because our heart can go the length of God. We can do this. We can do this, but we need to expand ourselves into ourselves. We need to trust the deep heart. We need to learn to say no when no is the word that needs to be spoken. And we need to say yes when it makes our heart sing, instead of dissing it or putting it off or having another excuse. Affairs are now soul size. What is bigger than being who we truly are? What is more enriching, enlivening, invigorating to our soul than being who we truly are? It's a magnificent time, actually. We just have resisted it for so long. And here we are, blooming in spite of ourselves. The enterprise is exploration into God. Yes, it is exploration into our deepest, highest, richest places. To come forth being truly, authentically who we are as humans. To release the treasure we've known has always been inside of us. We've always had the hubris to think we're the best, the highest life form, and now it's our chance to prove it, to actually be all those things instead of just pretending that that's true. So what are you making for? What are you making for? You can't do it by yourself. This is way too big to do it as individuals. But that said, the collection of individuals that has to do this has to be so fully, truly themselves that you will be bigger than you've ever been, in harmony, in company with others. And that's part of it. As we awake ourselves, we have to allow others to wake as well, to be the magnificence that they are, not to be jealous of it, not to be afraid of it, not to be afraid of ourselves, not to doubt ourselves, but to truly be who we are and to revel in that, enjoy that, explore that, share it, and evoke that in others. It takes so many thousand years to wake. But will you wake, for pity's sake? Now is the time. We get to do this now. That's what the time is calling us for. The human heart can go the lengths of God. Dark and cold we may be, but this is no winter now. The frozen misery of centuries breaks, cracks, begins to move. The thunder is the thunder of the flows, the thaw, the flood, the upstart spring. Thank God our time is now, when wrong comes up to face us everywhere, never to leave us until we take the longest stride of soul men ever took. Affairs are now soul size. The enterprise is exploration into God. What are you making for? It takes so many thousand years to wake. But will you wake, for pity's sake? Just delicious, don't you think? The call to be who we are. The clarion call that's been in so much literature is now being bugled. And we are asked to join with the planet in the changes that we insisted we wanted to make. We wanted all our comforts, we wanted all our conveniences, and we got them. And now the price we pay is to change with the changing planet, to adjust and adapt to a much warmer, much more chaotic time. The peacefulness of 65 million years is over. And now we will see and be buffeted by lots of different changes until the earth settles back into a comfortable spot. And that could be a very, very long time. So if we are to remain here, we need to be resilient. We need to engage with the change, to dance with the shifts, to go the lengths of God, to take the longest stride of soul man ever took. The affairs are now soul size. So where are you making for? Will you wake? Will you join us in this dance with the environment, with our civilization as we reframe what we're all about? We've been about convenience. We've been about wealth. We've been about, what have we been about? We've been about making sure we had ours. Very human-centric. We have wanted and we have gotten what we've wanted without realizing the implications, the consequences to others of our actions, the impact of our desires on other life and on the planet as a whole. And so now we see those, and now we have choice. We can play small, be sad, poor me, take my marbles and go home. We can do that. We can leave this planet to her own self. She's been able to manage for a very, very long time, so she doesn't need us to help her in that way. But if we wish to stay, we have that option, I think, if we can adjust and adapt and walk in partnership with this lovely planet that we have. It's going to be different. We're going to lose a lot. I mean, I still cry when I think of all the lost life in Australia a couple of years ago. Billions of animals died. Not to mention the forest home. So it'll be different. It will be different. But life is still here and life will continue. And can we join it? Can we release enough of our wants and our conveniences to make the trek? Can we become more deeply in touch with what authentically makes our heart sing? Because with all the stuff we have, our heart doesn't sing. The fact that we rarely go hungry, most of us, doesn't make our heart sing. We feel entitled, but we don't feel more joyous. And in fact, in those countries where there is not so much food, there is often more happiness. Now, why might that be? We are so human-centric instead of life-centric. And when we touch our hearts, when we joy with each other, because it does take other humans to touch us in certain ways, but we're touched by trees and animals and sunsets and rocks and water and air, all sorts of things touch us. And living in that space, making that what we're about instead of stuff, it's actually not a bad trait when you look at it. Not really. Happiness for stuff, it's not too bad. The human heart can go the lengths of God. Dark and cold we may be, but this is no winter now. The frozen misery of centuries breaks, cracks, begins to move. The thunder is the thunder of the flows, the thaw, the flood, the upstart spring. Thank God our time is now, when wrong comes up to face us everywhere, never to leave us until we take the longest stride of soul men ever took. Affairs are now soul size. The enterprise is exploration into God. Where are you making for? It takes so many thousand years to wake, but will you wake for pity's sake? That's Christopher Plummer. and it's the sleep of prisoners. Thank you for joining me. On the 27th of December, we will do this again. Thank you again for spending this time.